No water.
This was not an Olympic marathon. It was a 90-degree nightmare. In 1904, organizers deliberately withheld water from the runners as a scientific experiment. The results? The man who finished first was disqualified for getting a ride in a car for 11 miles. The actual winner was fed a performance-enhancing cocktail of brandy and literal rat poison by his trainers. He was dragged across the finish line, half dead. Another runner was chased a mile off course by angry dogs. Another almost died from inhaling the dust. This is the 100% true, completely insane story of the worst, dumbest race in Olympic history. But if you think that was the dumbest Olympic event, wait. 4 years earlier, in Paris, they held an event that was even crazier. An underwater obstacle course. That story is next.
Look at the view of the tower from here.
It is truly the most beautiful city in the world.
You thought rat poison was the dumbest Olympic moment. 4 years earlier, Paris held a race that the audience couldn't see. Why? Because the athletes were all underwater. This is the 100% true story of the underwater obstacle course. The event was held in the freezing, pitch-black, filthy River Seine. The rules were insane. Get points for how long you stay down. The reality? A terrifying blind struggle where athletes got lost, choked on mud, and were pulled out, half drowned. It was the first and the last time this event was ever held. But not all weird sports involve drowning. Sometimes they involved art. That's right. For 40 years, painting was an official Olympic event, and the medals were real. That story is next.
Un véritable Olympien, un véritable Olympien. Un artiste était un athlète.
You think the Olympics are just about running and jumping. For 40 years, you could win an Olympic gold medal. For painting. I'm not joking. From 1912 to 1948, art was an official Olympic sport. Medals were given for architecture, for music, for literature. It was the brainchild of the founder who believed in the perfect man. The reality? A farce. One man won a gold medal for a sculpture and another gold medal for shooting. This is the 100% true, bizarre story of the Olympic sport that was so ridiculous. They had to pretend it never happened, but the weirdest Olympic winner of all time wasn't an artist. It was a man who won a gold medal, but didn't even finish his race. That story is next. This is the story of the man who won an Olympic marathon, but didn't finish the race. London, 1908. A tiny Italian runner, Pietro Durando, stumbles into the stadium first, completely delirious. He turns the wrong way. He collapses. He collapses 4 more times. He can't get up. So, in a moment of pure chaos, the race officials rush onto the track, grab the half-dead man, and literally drag him across the finish line. He's crowned the winner, and then immediately disqualified for cheating. This is the tragic, true story of the race that was stolen by kindness. But if you think that was a weird way to win, wait until you hear about the man who won an Olympic gold medal by complete accident. That story is next.
Disqualified!
This is the story of how to accidentally win an Olympic gold medal. Stephen Bradbury was the slowest man in the race, a total underdog. In the quarter-finals, a man was disqualified, so he advanced. In the semi-finals, 3 skaters crashed, so he advanced. And in the final, on the very last turn, in the most chaotic crash in Olympic history, every single one of his opponents fell down. This is the 100% true, completely absurd story of the man who won Olympic gold, simply by not falling over. But if you think that was the weirdest event in Olympic history, you're wrong. In 1900, the weirdest event wasn't an accident. It was intentional.
Australians,
They held an official
let us
medal
rejoice,
sport event
for we
for
are
live
one
pigeon shooting.
and free.
That story is next.
Aussie, Aussie! Oi! Oi! Oi!
What if I told you the Olympics once had a massacre as an official sport? This isn't a metaphor. At the 1900 Paris Games, live pigeon shooting was a real medal-winning event. The rules: wealthy gentlemen stood in a line and live birds were released from traps. The winner was the man who could slaughter the most. Nearly 300 birds were killed. The field was covered in blood, feathers, and dying animals. It was so horrifying. The Olympics immediately banned it. Forever. But if you think that was the only bizarre Olympic sport, you're wrong. For 20 years, another official, medal-winning Olympic event was a simple tug-of-war. That story is next. You think pigeon shooting was weird? For 20 years, tug-of-war was one of the most brutal sports at the Olympics. The 1908 final in London became an international scandal. The USA team faced the unstoppable British team, who were all massive Liverpool cops. But the Americans immediately spotted a cheat. The British weren't wearing sports shoes. They were wearing illegal, steel-spiked mining boots. The Americans protested. The judges, who were also British, said no.
They're illegal.
This is the 100% true story of the Olympic gold medal that was won by a pair of heavy boots. But if you think that's the only time the Olympics were completely ridiculous, wait. In 1936, in Nazi Germany, the Games hosted a sport that was even weirder: town planning. That story is next. You thought tug-of-war was a weird Olympic sport. At the 1936 Berlin Olympics, Hitler's great propaganda show, they held an official medal-winning event for town planning. I'm not joking. While runners ran, architects submitted blueprints. But here is the insane, true, tetiklieci part. The gold medal was awarded to 2 German architects for designing the very Olympic stadium they were all sitting in. It was the only sport in history where you won a gold medal. Just for showing up. But if you think that was the weirdest competition, wait. In 1912, the Olympics held a sport that was even crazier: dueling, with real pistols. That story is next. Yes, dueling was an Olympic sport. At the 1912 Stockholm Games, they held an official competition with real pistols. But the reality was even weirder than you think. They didn't shoot at each other. They shot at mannequins dressed in coats. with bullseyes painted on their chests. But wait, it gets dumber. 4 years earlier, they did shoot at each other, but with bizarre, harmless wax bullets. This is the 100% true, completely absurd story of the Olympic
But
duel
wait,
that
it
was more of
gets
a
dumber.
farce than a fight. But if you think that's the most pointless Olympic sport, you're wrong. In 1900, they held an event that was literally a race that went nowhere, the stationary bicycle race. That story is next. You thought dueling mannequins was pointless. At the 1900 Paris Games, they held a race that literally went nowhere. This is the 100% true story of the stationary bicycle race. Athletes got on fixed rollers and pedaled furiously, staring at a wall. The crowd watched. Nothing. It was a test of pure, agonizing, and completely motionless endurance. It was so boring, it was immediately banned. It was a bizarre footnote in Olympic history, until 120 years later, we all decided to pay thousands to do the exact same thing in our living rooms. From rat poison marathons to underwater nightmares, from shooting live birds to racing nowhere. The early Olympics were a chaotic mess. They prove that the human desire to compete is one of the weirdest, most dangerous, and most hilarious forces in history.
And push, right there. Hold that resistance, team. Feel the burn, embrace the legacy. Let's go!